Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next of our What to Look For in the Night Sky series. We've made it all the way to April 24th, 2023 this time around, and we're going to try something like we did 2 or 3 months ago. We only did this once, and we're going to try it again, which is rather than focusing on a particular object or a particular thing or a particular idea, which we like to do, and then circle back to that idea and talk about this, we're going to suggest something to look at each night of the week. Now, obviously, if these things aren't moving around, you can see these other than the night that we're going to suggest right here. But it gives us a chance to talk about some different objects, and it gives us a chance to think about how the sky evolves as the week goes on. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start. So we're going to think about the moon. One of the things that's happening this week is the moon is moving east against the background stars. That's what it does, and it's filling out. And so early in the week, the moon is inoffensive enough, it's not bright enough that you can see some deep sky objects up through midweek or so. And so we'll talk about those. Some things, if you have a telescope and you want to go out and look for them, you can do that. By later in the week, the moon's getting so big and bright and nearing full that it's up for a large enough fraction of the night that it's hard. You can't wait for it to set. Early in the week, you can wait for it to set and then look for some of the things we're talking about right here if you want to. Later in the week, you can't do that. So you get a feel for that as we talk about night after night after night progressing this direction. So that's what we're going to do. So on the 24th, Monday evening, the 24th, just after dark, you go outside and the moon is about 25% full. So you got a pretty nice slender crescent moon to enjoy right there. And it's sitting about 3 degrees. Finger width at arm's length is about 1 degree. It's sitting about 3 degrees above a beautiful star cluster, M35. Probably you can, so the moon's not full enough to wash that out. It's in Gemini, and probably you can see this with a good pair of binoculars. So that might be something you could try with your binoculars to see if you can get a hint of M35 being there. Wait till it's good and dark. You'll be able to see the moon as it's getting dark, as darkness is falling on the land. But you want to wait till it's good and dark to be able to see the star cluster there below it. By 1 day later, on the 25th, the moon will have filled out to about 1/3 full. So that's one of the advantages of tracking this thing across the week, is we get to see a feel for the rate at which the moon moves against the stars and the rate at which it fills out. So we see it's gone from about 1/4 full to about 1/3 full, and now it's sitting 3 degrees above Mars. And so Mars is right there, beautiful. And so Mars is in Gemini as well. And so Mars, we've talked about that last week, Mars tracking through Gemini here. It's sitting right next to, within 1 degree or so of a faint star, 48 Geminorum. And so 48 Geminorum is right there. And so if you have your binoculars, the star is barely visible to the naked eye if you've got good dark skies. But Mars is really close there. By the next night on the 26th, we're going to go off and look at something else on the 26th, but by the next night on the 26th, so this is a bonus observation for you, watch Mars. Mars is prograde motion like we've been talking about. It's tracking east against the stars. It's going to clip right on top of 48 Geminorum. So if you have a chance on the 25th and the 26th, watch the moon there above Mars. Beautiful pairing, but watch Mars. Use your binoculars or even a small telescope and see if you can see the little faint star right next to Mars on the 25th, and then see where it looks like it is to you as Mars has moved right almost on top of it on the 26th. So that's a fun little thing to keep an eye on as the week progresses here. So by the next night, the 26th, into the morning of the 27th. So now, this region of the sky that we've drawn up here, and I'll mark that out for you a little bit better in just a second. This transit's about 10:30 p.m. for me. So that's the north-south line directly overhead. So it's up and well placed, ready to observe by the time it gets dark. But if you wait a little longer, it's going to get higher in the sky. And if you wait even a little bit longer, you let it cross the meridian line there, the moon will have had a chance to set, and that'll make this a little easier to see. This is Spica, the bright star in Virgo, and we see Spica looks like it sits at the base of a wine glass there at the vertex of a Y shape down this direction. And so the tail of Leo sits in that glass of Spica right there. That's Dana Bola, is that bright star. So we've looked at this triangle of of Leo a fair amount before it goes back to the bright star Regulus, which sits at the base of the sickle, the backward question mark that marks the head of Leo. So what we want to look at here on the 26th, we've let the moon get low in the sky, or set, so into the morning of the 27th, is to say we've got Iota here in Leo, and so we look at this triangle, identify this triangle of Leo, move from here to here, and draw a line down through there. And just short of halfway down on the line that connects these stars, that's about a 4th magnitude star for you right there. And that's a little bit brighter up here. You've got a nice galaxy pair, M65, M66. So what we're doing is we're taking our small telescope. You've got dark skies. You might be able to get a hint of this in binoculars, but I would use a small telescope if you've got it. And start on the right side of the triangle back toward Regulus of Leo, and just start moving down toward the next bright star you see down that direction. Just barely short of halfway there, you've got a pair of galaxies that are separated by less than half a degree. So you've got a good low power eyepiece in your field of view, and you should be able to see this pair of galaxies. This is one of the more famous groupings of galaxies in the sky. Relatively easy to see as these things go. But they still look faint to you. They still look like smudges of light when you look in there, unless you've got a really big telescope, a really good telescope. And so the real value of looking at that is to remember this whole region is littered with galaxies like our Milky Way. You know, our Milky Way has a couple 100 billion stars in it. And so these are galaxies like that, big spiral galaxies that you can, think about how many stars there are there that are making that faint smudge of light in this pair of galaxies that you see. So that's what we got on the 26th and the 27th. On the evening of the 27th into the morning of the 28th, again, the moon's filling out now and getting a little bit more obnoxious. And so you might want to wait a little bit longer into the morning of the 28th if you have the opportunity to do this. But we ascend this branch of the Y of Virgo, and we go that same distance on up. Go bam, bam. And so that's what we've marked right there. And just off to the east of that, a few degrees, is going to be the very bright globular star cluster M3. Again, I think you can probably discern this with a pair of binoculars if you've got dark skies. This is a very good globular cluster. It's a beautiful, bright cluster of stars, 500,000 stars there, big and bright. It's distant from us, so it's not, it doesn't splash off the sky because it's so distant from us. But see if you can find M3 up this direction, and with a small telescope or with your binoculars on the night of the 27th and the 28th. By the time we get to the evening of the 28th, into the morning of the 29th, but we're talking about the evening of the 28th here, the moon's really starting to fill out and starting to become unpleasant for us. And so we're going to go back and we're going to say, well, what we can see that will hold up to the moon here is going to be a nice double star system, and one that maybe we haven't looked at much before, we haven't thought about much before. And it's a last chance. Orion's, we're deep into spring as we get to April 24th, right? We're thinking about spring transitioning to summer before long. Flowers are blooming, and the snow that we had this week is maybe melted, and all of this stuff. And so, let's get a last look at Orion, a marker of the winter sky before Orion's gone for the summer. And so the head of Orion, you got Betelgeuse, the shoulder stars up here, and these stars that mark the head, there's a triangle up here that we think of as the head of Orion. That's Lambda Orionis. Lambda Orionis itself is a fine double star. 4.4 arc seconds separates those two stars. So again, you've got your small telescope out. Take a little bit of time. If you don't have a small telescope, just get to know that region of the sky. We often think of the shoulders and the legs and the belt of Orion if we think about the stars of Orion. But let's drift up here and think about some of the stars we don't look at so much, the head that's at the top of this triangle above the shoulders. But if you do have a small telescope, Lambda Orionis is a fine double star. It's part of a group of stars, a small cluster of stars, and you'll see a lot of stars littering that area. But you'll see two of them really close together there, 4.5 arc seconds separating them, that are Lambda Orionis proper, at the heart of this group of stars. So take a little bit of time to enjoy this and say goodbye to Orion. This is our chance to do a formal farewell to Orion. Bon voyage. We'll see you next fall as you pop back around. By the next night, on the 29th, into the morning of the 30th now, the moon's made it all the way past 2/3 full. So it started the week about a quarter full, and now it's 2/3 full. It's getting really big and bright in the sky. And it sits about 4 degrees from the bright star Regulus at the base of the sickle shape in Leo. So you'll go back to this region of the sky and identify these stars and think about that. As the moon continues to fill out and get brighter, it gets harder to see things in the sky. We'll leave you on the evening of the 30th into the morning of the 1st of May. And in fact, it'll be something you want to look at in the morning before dawn. Saturn, we've talked about a little bit in recent weeks, is rising earlier and earlier. It now rises about 3:30 in the morning for me. And so we've got about 3:30 in the morning, Saturn's coming up, so it's getting well placed. There aren't a lot of bright stars around Saturn right now, so you go out an hour before sunrise and you look to the east. The bright dot you see glowing in that direction is going to be Saturn. So let's as we say bon voyage to Orion in the evening sky, let's welcome Saturn into the morning sky, and we'll spend some time observing Saturn in the coming weeks and months. So that's what we got, a whole week of things to observe. Hopefully you have some clear skies on some of those nights, and you'll be able to enjoy some of this and think about the whole broad expanse of the night sky this week. As always, thanks for watching, everybody, and we hope you have a great week.